Hi there. In this lecture I'd like to show you an iconic Bobby Fischer game in the Evans Gambit. So played against Reuben in 1963. This is actually a casual game, so played in New York, and it was actually featured in Bobby Fischer's 60 memorable games. So we go into the Italian game and Fischer uses the Evans Gambit b4. We have bishop takes b4, c3, bishop a5, and now the most accurate move d4 is played. If white castles, black has d6, and if queen b3 here, queen d7 is the most accurate. Defending f7 and sometimes guarding this diagonal, a4 to e8 diagonal. If d4, bishop b6, and white's best here does seem to be bishop b5, just pin that knight, and for example here, park the queen now on b2 in advance of b5, and this should be even. So this is, you know, in the worst case scenario, our queen's on b2 supporting our center like this, and this is about even. Okay, so interesting theoretically. If we had played d takes e5, we're asking for knight a5 here, and black's going to have a small edge after. Okay, so anyway, in the game, d4 is very accurate. E takes d4 is a slight inaccuracy. Again, black really wants to transpose into what we've just seen with d6. So here, queen d7. And then again, now that a5 has been vacated, black is threatening knight a5. So we pin the knight, park the bishop on a4, park the queen on b2 against in advance b5. And we're holding d4 from here. So yes, transposing would be the best idea. But e takes is played, e takes d4. White castles, and now this is an inaccuracy giving white technically a slight edge. White is actually technically better here. If knight g7, c takes, this position should be even. d5, knight b8, you know, black has managed to castle. d6 looks positionally unpleasant, but with d5 trying to open up the c8 bishop again, black should be fine. Now this, yeah, it is unpleasant for black now, more unpleasant after d takes. We have queen b3. Now queen e7 actually makes things worse for black. Queen f6 would have limited the damage, going like this, and now this is an even position, for example. Here black can castle, d6 to open up that bishop, even if it costs a pawn here. Bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, queen a5, white only has a small edge. So okay, this actually makes things worse, queen e7. Now we have knight takes c3, and you can see that knight d5 is looking scary for black. Knight f6 makes things even worse. Bishop takes c3, it seems, had to be played, but it's still much better for white now. You know, knight f6, bishop a3, d6, this position is scary for black. We can push with e5. And here, e takes d6, queen f6. We can take the queens off even. With a big advantage, we're going to win that rook here. Crushing. So anyway, knight f6 though is delightful. Knight d5. Fischer is ripping open the e file with knight d5. So black took on d5. The thing is, if queen d5, sorry, if queen d8, we just play bishop g5. Look at the neglect of this bishop on this side of the board. This pin is almighty. So h6, we can actually play bishop h4 here. And this position, we can wait for g5 for queen b2. This is so crushing. Knight takes f6 check. Knight takes h4. We're dominating the position. If queen takes e4, this is really asking for it. Bishop g5 is one of the strongest. So say castling, then bishop takes, and then here we fork queen and king. Say after bishop g5, instead of castling, well, there's not much to do here. In fact, this is it's a pretty horrendous position. So, and there's also, actually, I'd like to show you also knight takes f6 check is also strong. Bishop takes f7 check. Bishop h6 takes away the king escape square, means now we're ready for rook a to e1, even if the bishop's looking at e1. So here, knight takes e5, queen takes. Bishop g8 is nifty for queen f7 check. And yeah, white's crushing it here. This position, we can play bishop f8 check. If king takes, we have queen f7 checkmate. And here we can just take on d6. yeah, it's all very, very strong. Knight takes f6 or bishop g5. This position, yeah. If king f8, then indeed actually rook e1 is actually possible here. If bishop takes, bishop h6 check unveils the rook. So actually rook takes e1, crushing stuff. So anyway, yeah, so knight takes d5 is kind of understandable. E takes knight e5. So black's maybe banking on, you know, bishop looking at e1. But it's also a casual game, so maybe we shouldn't take this that seriously. But it has been a great source of entertainment, this game, you know, for thousands and thousands of chess enthusiasts over the years. If black castles, maybe that's best, but we are going to be a piece up. But at least black's castled. Okay. Black also has some pawns for the piece, but overall white is better. White's still got a lot of interesting ideas and attacking opportunities. Without a defensive knight on f6, this is just clearly better for white. And also these pawns are doubled here. So it is 3 pawns though, to be fair. But yeah, white's bishop here, this is such a good position here. So anyway, knight e5 is played. We have knight takes, queen takes. We have now bishop b2, which seems very logical. And also it looks as though rook e1, if only that bishop wasn't on a5. You know, this would be dangerous. We have now the queen protecting g7. Fischer kind of tries to trap now the king in the center with h4. We have queen takes h4 being played. So giving up g7, which means actually black's kingside casting rights are stopped. If queen g4, what do you think the strongest move here is for 100 points? We can actually construct a battery with queen e3 check. This is one of the absolute strongest moves, with the idea that the queen's in front of the battery. It doesn't matter about bishop takes e1, because black has major issues. How does black actually defend here? e7. So queen takes h4 might be, you know, the answer for the moment. But then bishop takes g7, rook g8. What would you play here for 100 points? Well, one good move is queen e5 to be able to play bishop f6 check. If c6, d6 is cruel to stop king c7. And then bishop f6 is just mating. So yes, queen g4, yeah, it does run into queen e3 check. And if king f8, that's actually even easier. What do you think white plays here for 10 points? Yeah, rook fe1. It doesn't matter if we lose a rook to a bishop here. We're threatening queen e8 checkmate. Look at all of these pieces still in bed, so to speak. They're kind of still in bed. If queen e6, if that's one of the best moves, that's not particularly good for black. It's crushing. So queen g4 is not good. If queen e7, this is interesting. We can take on g7 here, and there's actually a very strong idea in this position. Can you see what it is for 10 points? It's d6. So we unveiled that soft spot again. So it's only the queen and king clinging on to the soft spot f7. We'd play now bishop takes f7 check because the king is a bad defender, and we can exploit the king being the only one defending the queen with rook a to e1 check. And you can see that if the king moves now, we're going to take the queen. If queen e6, as well as taking immediately on e6, even more accurate is just leaving the pin here, not to even straighten up black's pawns until we absolutely need to. This position, now we could consider rook takes e6, and this is check, and this is just crushing this position. Yeah, we've got a strong dark square pressure. It's difficult for black to defend here. So yes, queen e7, this is going to be a key move, d6. So yes, so queen g4, queen e7, we can rule them out. So queen takes h4 is played. Bishop takes g7, rook g8. And now, guess what Fischer plays here for 100 points? Yeah, rook fe1 check, not bothered about bishop takes e1. Black resigned with king d8, and black resigned. If bishop takes, though, rook takes, what we can do here, there's two key moves which are absolutely precise. well, at least two, but one of them is actually queen b2, not just with the like multi-purpose, not just with bishop f6 in mind, but sometimes the b file is useful. So say d6, bishop f6 check, king d7. It's useful here to have queen b5 check. This position we're going to be mating quite quickly. So yes, that would be an accurate move. So that was with d6. If rook takes g7, queen takes g7. Here again, take out the escape square with this quiet d6 move, and then check and then mate. So that's also, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, with king d8 the game ended here, and the highly celebrated, what do you think the two key moves are here for trying to mate as quickly as possible? There's actually, yeah, two forced mates. One is just slightly quicker actually. This move is basically a forced mate in 8, queen g3. So deflecting the queen off this sensitive diagonal, trying to. If queen e7, sure, we can just take the queen and we're going to be much better there. But if queen h5, then bishop f6 is checkmate. If c5, actually best first is d6 to take out the king escape square. And what is black doing? Black's not doing too much. So yeah, queen g3 is pretty convincing. Pretty convincing. If we had played, it's actually really much more accurate than queen h3 for the record. This doesn't deflect the queen necessarily from this diagonal. The queen can lurk around with queen g5. And then here, let's say bishop b2, bishop takes e1, rook takes e1. In fact, black's going to be equalizing here. We're going to end up with nothing. So yeah, queen g3 would be a super accurate move here. With no queen g5, queen f6, queen e7 is just hopeless. The other move for your interest here is actually queen b2. So it's not even trying to deflect the queen, it's just introducing the reinforcement of the f6 square with the queen. Now here, if bishop b4, queen f6 check, bishop e7, we can take on e7. We're going to be mating soon. In this position we're a bishop up, and actually we're going to be mating soon by doubling the rooks. If that's just the delay, check, check, and mate. So that's delightfully accurate actually as well, queen b2, reinforcing the f6 square. Delightful accuracy. But queen g3 is a super cute move, and that's got an aesthetic to it, which maybe you might find more aesthetically pleasing than queen b2, which reinforces the f6. This is trying to deflect the queen from f6. So both of these lovely moves really show the problems with the king in the center with no development. This kind of only looking at e1, wasn't even used that. But these pieces still in bed. No, not these guys, but these guys still in bed. King in the center. Delightful finish here. Just 17 moves. So yeah, sometimes these really cute games, even casual games, can really get into people's collections. We can really get our inspiration going. And inspiration for the opening in particular, on this occasion, the Evans Gambit, showing how dangerous the Evans Gambit can be. You can win sometimes in less than 20 moves. So 16 moves by Fischer. It was 16 king d8 that the game was resigned, showing the real dangers of the Evans Gambit if black is too greedy here with d takes c3. So I hope you enjoyed this one as much as me. Thanks so much. Hi there. I hope you enjoyed that game sample. It's actually from my course, which you can find at the Kingscrusher TV page, which has great discounts. It's the Italian game Mastery, the Ideal Beginner's Opening. So just very briefly, if we click there, you can also see other free sample videos. Just do expand all sections, and you can see these preview links if you want to see other free previews and get an idea of the course yourself. I'm going to keep it short here. Just basically to say I had a fantastic time seeing many brilliant games in the Italian game. You can see from the number of collections how epic some of these games are, that they've been collected like hundreds of times at chessgames.com. And yeah, I really hope you check out this index and may consider getting the course. Okay, comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks very much.